Virtual reference can be a powerful tool to serve a community or client base. However, applications, operational components, strengths and weaknesses, and perceptions are aspects that must be considered by the administrative units in each organization. Pressure to provide immediate assistance to library users caused librarians to experiment with chat virtual reference systems. This type of software allowed librarians to imitate in-person reference interviews with online users. Because these systems were costly and slow, librarians abandoned this type of software and adopted instant messaging systems. Over the past decade, chat virtual reference services have become increasingly popular in libraries. Libraries began choosing to use this service because of a decrease in their in-house requests for reference assistance and because they wanted to provide services their distant and homebound users could use. LibChat is a fully functional chat virtual reference service that allows librarians to create scripts or canned messages for commonly asked questions. It also allows librarians to create individual chat widgets on their own personal pages or subject guides. While LibChat is a reasonably priced service, libraries have to pay a base subscription to LibAnswers to have access to it. LibHelp is another fully functional chat virtual reference service that allows librarians to set up multiple reference queues. It can also be set up to allow in-house communication amongst library personnel. Library Help's reasonable price is based on the population of the community it serves. ZohoChat is another functional chat virtual reference service that allows librarians to share their own computer's desktop and files with their users. It also allows librarians to customize its chat widget. Unlike LibChat and LibHelp, ZohoChat is a completely free service. When discussing the operational components of virtual reference applications, there are several issues that come up that can affect library staff members as well as patrons. The technical requirements of an application of this manner fall into the realms of both hardware and software. In today's environment, a computing device can be a computer, a tablet, or a smartphone. There are usually base system requirements for an application to function properly on a computing device. The application's creator typically determines the system's requirements based on how the software will need to operate. In terms of software, the application itself will be needed, as well as any add-ons, additional programs that would be required for it to function properly. For example, the popular video streaming network Netflix needs to have Microsoft Silverlight downloaded on a PC before it can be properly used. The equipment costs are typically associated with the hardware that will be needed in order to properly access and use the application, but can also be associated with the cost of the application itself. Generally, there is no need to purchase new equipment in a library setting unless the computers that are available cannot properly meet the base requirements for the application, in which case the systems will either need to be upgraded or replaced. As for users outside of a library setting, as long as their computing devices are relatively up to date, then they should not have any issues. In terms of user needs, for those outside of the library, they would need to have access to a computing device. Also, they would need to have access to the Internet in order to be able to access the service. Library staff would also need these same components. The impact on staff would include needed training as to how the program operates, so they know all of the features that the program offers. Also, the staff could organize a class or some form of outreach program informing their community that they have started offering this service. Although, in reality, most libraries already offer this particular service, being that the technology is somewhat old. Though what could change is the program itself, which could potentially offer more options or services than the last. There would also be a need to schedule when each librarian would be responsible for the virtual reference. There are a multitude of strengths and weaknesses associated with virtual reference and support. It can be seen in other areas, such as tech support, in addition to libraries. Some of the positives and negatives are unique to the specific type of virtual reference being utilized, such as text-based chat or real-time video reference services using programs such as Adobe Connect. The Reference and User Services Association, a division of the American Library Association, defines virtual reference as reference service initiated electronically where patients employ computers or other technology to communicate with public services staff without being physically present. Communication channels used frequently in virtual reference include chat, video conferencing, voice over IP, co-browsing, email, and instant messaging. There are numerous strengths and positive aspects to be considered with virtual reference. It allows for off-site assistance, no longer requiring the patron to go to the library physically. It can enhance the ability of libraries spread across large geographical areas to connect and share expertise. Hyperlinks can be inserted into conversations to provide an easy-to-use pathway to certain sites, articles, and databases. When a screen share function is introduced, patrons can be shown how to use a database without having to describe every step using text. With instant message style virtual reference, it often adds a more informal style of interaction that can assist librarians in building relationships with their end users. Adding a video component could make online reference service more like a natural in-person conversation where participants can respond to body language and hand gestures. Challenges and weaknesses are also most certainly present in the realm of virtual reference. Technical difficulties are often reported with any web-based service and can be caused by so many controllable and uncontrollable factors. Policy on how to handle dropped conversations would need to be in place so the patron doesn't feel abandoned or that they received poor service. Dedicated IT staff would be necessary to handle connectivity and other network issues quickly and efficiently, while general library staff would need initial and ongoing training to retain effective online behaviors and knowledge of the software and interfaces being used for the service. These challenges would incur cost, and many libraries are already operating on a modest budget with little room for additional staff or technologies. There is also the digital divide to consider. Not everyone has access to high-speed internet, nor are tech-savvy enough to navigate new programs. Virtual reference, by default, would exclude a portion of that audience. Consideration for those with disabilities must be made under Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, and software must have options for those with hearing or visual impairments to be considered compliant. The perceived strengths and weaknesses of virtual reference were collected via a web-based survey. The questions were geared toward virtual reference with a video component, as there is little literature published about this specific component. 70% of our respondents had never used this type of virtual reference in either a library or other, such as tech support, setting. However, just over half were open to the idea, at 54.55%. 19.7% stated that they may not be comfortable, however, conversing live for support services. A question was used to see if not being seen by an information professional would help them feel more at ease. 46.15% said it would make them more likely to use the service. Here are a few of the open-ended responses from the survey. Technical issues, such as buffering or bad connections, immediately come to mind. The proliferation of tablets and smartphones that already have video capabilities are near at hand and no longer necessitate that one go to a physical library to find references. The ability to see the other person would help both parties determine when the other was getting frustrated. This awareness might help them to calm the other person down. Also, the ability to talk with one's hands would make the conversation much more natural for some participants. In conclusion, while there are many factors to consider with virtual reference, it is likely to continue to spread as society becomes more and more integrated with technology and connectivity. Challenges will need to be met by current as well as future librarians and information professionals.